If you want to watch the unboxing of my Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 4, I will pop up a link in the screen now for its shorts video. Yes, the Samsung cell phone boxes now basically does not contain anything anymore, so unboxing videos just takes less than 1 minute these days. For this video, I will be sharing you all the things that I did after I unboxed my new Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 4. From the first boot up to setting it up, how I transferred my data from my old ASUS ROG Phone 5 using Smart Switch, how I made this Z Flip 4 my own, how I made sure it is secured, how I optimized and customized it. And I will also be sharing many other tips and tricks for the first things that you should check and do after receiving your brand new Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 4. Let's get started. Okay. You are actually witnessing the first boot of my brand new Galaxy Z Flip 4 here. We have the welcome screen, selecting the language, the end user license agreement, selecting a Wi-Fi connection, mobile network, and all the usual first setup shenanigans. Then we arrive to the copying of data. Let's select copy from our old phone. Then let's select continue here. We are now presented with the option to transfer via cable or through wireless connection. I don't have a cable here with me, so I'm going to choose wireless here. We will then have an option below to get the Samsung Smart Switch, which what I will do. And since I am transferring data from my ROG Phone 5, I will select other Android phone here. It will then generate a QR code which I should scan from my old phone. Now from your old phone, you should also install Smart Switch from the Play Store. Then open it and start transferring the data. I will also choose wireless here, as I've also choose that from the Z Flip 4. It will then automatically search for the Z Flip 4, which is already waiting for a connection from other phone. This one should detect the Wi-Fi network from the Z Flip and prompt you with this message. Just tap on connect. Then allow. There we go. We are now connected to the Z Flip 4 and we can start the data transfer process. Take note that the data process took me 14 hours to finish. I had about 90 gigabytes of data to transfer and I have used the wireless option. If you have less data and if you use the wired transfer option, this will be faster. Alright. When setup is done, let's start dipping our hands inside the phone system. The first thing I do is go to the settings, then about phone. From here, the very first thing I do is edit my phone's name. The phone name that you set here will also be the Bluetooth, hotspot and basically the identification to be used by any apps when you need to connect to other device. It makes it easier to identify your phone from any network and it literally makes the phone your own. Next, let's go to the software information. We will then need to tap the build number repeatedly for about 10 times. This will enable the developer mode. I have already enabled mine, so I only got the message here. When developer option is enabled, you will have a new menu item in your setting for developer options which contains many Android features for debugging and testing your system, but I will not go through that anymore. And since we are on it, still on the software information settings, you can also tap the Android version item multiple times to open the Android Easter egg and then play around with this Android 12 Easter egg clock. Okay. Now let's go back to the settings, then let's go inside the sound and vibration. To maximize the very best sound of your Z Flip 4, go to sound and quality effects. Then turn on the Dolby Atmos and the Dolby Atmos for gaming. When these are enabled, it enhances the phone speakers to output richer sound. Alternatively, you can also use the Equalizer if you are knowledgeable on how to play around with setting up the proper values here. Alright. Let's go back to the settings and let's now go to the notifications. For notification pop-up style, I highly suggest to select brief. By doing this, your notification will always only show the first line, which looks neat. When you choose the detailed, the notifications will show the whole message from the notification item, and when you get a lot of notification, it will be a mess to look at. Also, when you choose brief, you will be given another cool option here for brief pop-up setting, which is not available when you choose detailed. Let me show what you can do with the brief pop-up settings. Let's go inside. Then tap on edge lighting style. The default here is none, but I highly recommend that you choose an option here since this is really cool. My favorite here is glitter. As you can see, every time you receive a notification, you will see this edge lighting around the screen to signify that you have received a new notification. You will have many other options here, which when selected, will give you a preview on what the screen will look like if you receive a new notification. You can swipe left to see more options in the next page. You can also customize the color of the effect by going to the color tab. And in the Advanced tab, you can also adjust other aspects of the notification animation. Personally, I prefer glitter here. It reminds me of my Royal Kludge RK918 keyboard. Next, let's go back to the settings and then go inside the display. First thing to do here is set the phone to dark mode. Flip 4 uses an AMOLED screen, so using dark mode is a big help for battery longevity. Next, enable the adaptive brightness. This is also a big support for your battery as well as to your eyes, since it automatically sets the brightness level of your screen depending on your ambience. When you are in a dark place, it will automatically lower the brightness and increase it when you're in a bright environment. Then go to motion smoothness and select adaptive. The screen of Flip 4 is an LTPO panel that automatically sets the screen refresh rate between 1 to 120 Hz. When the screen is static or not moving, it can go down to 1 Hz, and while scrolling, it can go up to a buttery smooth 120 Hz refresh rate. To utilize that, you must select adaptive here. It doesn't really make any sense to select standard here, which fixed the screen refresh rate to just 60 Hz. Then, and this is again for your eye care, I suggest enabling Eye Comfort Shield. Eye Comfort Shield increases the warmth of the screen to make more eye-friendly during night or when it is near your bedtime. I don't need it most of the day, just during bedtime, so I set it to custom scheduled mode and select about 1 hour before my usual bedtime. Next is the Edge panel. This is the Edge panel. A group of apps, or any item really, that you can access anywhere, anytime. You can modify it and put in any apps that you like. You can also set it up to show contacts, any of your recently used apps, a list of tasks, weather information, tools, reminders or your clipboard. It is an easy access to frequently used items within your phone, so I recommend to enable it. When enabled, you will see a thin small bar here at the upper right side of your screen. You just need to swipe that out to open the Edge panel. And again, no matter what app or what screen you are currently in, you can always access it. So it is really handy. Let's go back to the display settings as I still have items in there to show you. I also highly recommend that you enable the accidental touch protection setting. This prevents accidental touches to your phone when it is on a dark place, like inside your pocket for example. It is basically an anti-butt dial feature. And lastly, on the display settings, I also recommend to enable the show charging information. The Z Flip 4 does not have a LED indicator, so enabling this makes it easier, at a glance, to know how much battery percentage you have while charging the phone. And that's it for the display settings section. Let's now go through some first things to do tips under the home screen settings section. First up, I would choose home and app screens for the home screen layout, which enables the app drawer. I'm sure you all already know what app drawer is, so I'm not going through the details of that anymore. Then on the home screen grid, I would choose the highest possible grid size to maximize the space in your home screen. I would choose 5x6 here, where you can fit 5 icons across, and 6 vertically. You will also have a preview here on what your home screen will look like, which is a nice touch for One UI. Then for the app screen grid, which is your app drawer layout, I would do the same. Choose the highest possible space for your icons, which is also 5x6. For the folder grid, I'd also do the same, choose the highest layout, which in this case, is 4x4. And, this one is optional, but for me, I do like to have a media page enabled. This is the page from the leftmost side of your home screen. And when you enable this, always select the Google Discover since it has way more richer contents and news, as compared to the Samsung free media page. From your home page, if you go to the leftmost screen, this is the media page. Alternatively, you can also long tap anywhere from your home screen, which will enable the home screen edit mode. From here, you can also enable or disable the media page, as well as select your media page source. You can see here when I disable it, even if I swipe right, there's no more page on my left. But as a personal preference, I do like to read through the news, so I enable this media page. After the home screen, let me now give you some tips from the lock screen. I suggest that you enable the always on display feature. From here, you actually have several options. We have the tap to show, which you will need to tap the screen to show the always on display. But if you need to tap, that is technically not always on, isn't it? So logically, you would choose show always here to maximize the always on display. But then again, you always go to sleep every day, and while you are asleep, you don't really need the always on display. So for me, the best setting here is to schedule it. Just turn on the always on display when you are awake, and then turn it off during your bedtime. This way, you can save some battery and never show anything on the screen while you are asleep. And while you're here, you can also spend some time to customize your always on display clock style. There's a lot to choose here. You can also go to image clock. From here, there's also an option to go to themes and browse online other image clock lock screen styles that you want. Thus do note that some items here are not free, but there is a huge collection of free items here that you can download. Now going back to the lock screen section. You can also select widgets here which you can enable for access from the lock screen. Just toggle the switch for the widget that you want to show in the lock screen. Above, you can also tap the reorder to rearrange the widget position. Let's lock the screen to demo how to use the widgets. Just double tap on the clock from the locked screen followed by a swipe up gesture. There you go. Okay. Let's go back to the lock screen section. Next is the contact information. From here you can enter any text that you want. The main purpose of this though is when you lost your phone. You can put in here the phone number of your mother or wife or whoever can be contacted when you lost the phone, since this text will appear on your lock screen. See here. This is the text that I have set up for my lock screen contact information. Alright, we're done with the home and lock screen, now on to the cover screen, which is the cute 1.9-inch screen at the back of the phone. From here, I suggest customizing it to make it your own. First is the clock style, where you can see that I am already using a customized picture. You have the basic clock style here where you can put in any picture, a GIF file, or a video as your cover screen. Note that on graphical clock style, the customization of background is disabled, which makes sense. So for basic, you can tap on clock background image, then you can select any image, video or GIF file to be the background of the cover screen. Let me select a Ribby Trivia intro video here as an example. Just tap confirm. Okay, that is selected now. Now when you tap customize here, you will be able to select a color for the digital clock font. You can select any available color here. Let me choose black. Now let's tap done. And let's fold the phone and go to the cover screen to see how it looks like. There you go. Our cover screen has been heavily customized now based on my preference. Now let me show you the graphical style. You will also be able to customize this, except for the background image of course. You'll have an option here to shuffle through the available animated graphical background. And you can also customize the font color. Let's tap done. Let me show you again what it will look like in the cover screen. There you go. And since we set it up to shuffle, every time you open the cover screen, it will be a different animated background image. Now it's time to go to the advanced features. Let's go inside the labs, which are the experimental features for the phone, and we are basically the beta testers of these features. Go to Flex Mode panel. And from here, you can toggle on any apps listed here to enable flex mode on them. For example, let's enable it for Chrome. Now when you open Chrome and then fold the phone into 90 degrees, which is the flex mode, your phone will basically become a mini laptop. From the bottom panel, you can tap the icons to pull down the notification panel. You can take a screenshot of the top panel of the phone. You can adjust the brightness, you can adjust the volume, and then toggle the touchpad. Once the touchpad is enabled, you will have a mouse cursor here which you can control just like how you do it on a laptop. You can double finger scroll or tap to click and any other functionalities you can do with a normal laptop trackpad. Okay. Let's go back up one level into the advanced features section. Then let's go to side key. Side key is Samsung's fancy name for the power button. From here you can customize what will happen when you double press the power button. The default is to launch a camera. So when I double press here, it will open the camera app. You can customize this to open any app as well by tapping on that second option, then select the app that you want to open for the double press of the power button. Let's say Torch for example. When I double tap, there you go. Flashlight is on now. But I would suggest to leave this to launch the camera, since you never know when there will be an Instagram or TikTok worthy event that can happen that needs your camera to immediately launch to capture the moment. Then below, on the press and hold gesture for the power button, the default here is Wake Bixby. Let's face it, nobody want to use Bixby, so you should change this to the normal power off menu instead. So when I press and hold the power button, you will have this power off options, as you normally do on any other Android phone in the world. In case you are wondering how you are going to shut down the phone, when the press and hold is set to Bixby, they have put in a simple tutorial here. Moving on to the motions and gestures. I very highly recommend to turn on the double tap to wake and sleep, as these makes everything easier. Just double tap the screen to put it to sleep. Then double tap the screen to wake it up. Then also enable the palm swipe to capture, which is how you take screenshot on One UI. They don't have a 3-finger swipe screenshot in One UI, which I think is dumb, so instead of doing the power button and volume down combo to take a screenshot, the palm swipe to capture is the best way to take a screenshot in One UI. Now let's go to finger sensor gesture. Then enable the open notification panel. This enables the power button to accept a swipe gesture which applies to the notification panel. So when you swipe down to the power button, it will pull down the notification panel. Swiping up will pull up the notification panel as well. I like this feature very much since you don't need to touch the screen, which is a fingerprint magnet, to open the notification panel. Then if you have a small hand, and we all know that Z Flip 4 is a really tall phone, you should enable the one hand mode. To activate it, just swipe in the middle bottom edge of your screen as you can see here in the demo. So by doing this, you will go to one-handed mode, and everything on your phone is within the reach of your thumb. Just swipe up to the upper middle side of the screen to exit the one-handed mode. Let's go back to the advanced features, then go to video brightness. From here you can set to automatically brighten the videos that you are watching within the phone. Just select the bright option here, and below, enable the video players that you want the automatic video brightness to be applied. For example, you don't want Netflix video to be bright and just have the normal brightness, you can disable that. Okay. That's it for the advanced features. Now for the last and final section that we're going to visit, the battery and device care. First thing that I would suggest you do here is to tap the optimize here. It will scan the system for any issues and will also close the background apps to free up memory. Now for a more intense battery saving tip. Inside the battery and device care, you can tap the battery section, then the background usage limits, then deep sleeping app. You can of course just search for it in the settings as well. So in here, you can add applications that you don't want to stay running in the background. To do that, you can tap the plus icon from the top right corner, then choose an app that you want to put to deep sleep. When you're done selecting, just tap the add button from the lower right side. When an app is listed here, and it is not in the foreground, or your phone is asleep or folded, that app will automatically be terminated within 1 to 2 minutes. If you are familiar with the old Android app called GENIE, this is exactly the same thing. I was able to fully test this functionality since I accidentally added Music Colette, which is my music player app, to this list, so when I used it, I noticed that when I fold my phone, after about 1 to 2 minutes, my music suddenly stops. Then I remembered this deep sleeping apps. And lo and behold, Music Colette app is indeed in that list. So I removed it and everything is fine again. So just be aware to not include apps that you want to keep running in the background like music players, fitness tracking apps, file transfer apps, or apps for downloading and such. Now for the reverse wireless charging. By default, the wireless power sharing is turned off. So if you want to use that, you can tap here, then turn it on. By doing this, you will be able to charge other devices wirelessly. Like this Abbott E12 Ultra TWS for example. But I would suggest that you turn this off again once you are done with your reverse wireless charging to save your phone's battery juice. Next we can go to more battery settings. Then go to performance profile, and then select light. Standard here uses the battery normally, but on light, it prioritizes battery life and cooling efficiency, but it does not affect the game performance. And considering that this phone has 8GB of RAM and has a Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 SoC, I have never really experienced any hiccups, slowness, or lags even when this is set to light, but I do notice some battery usage improvements. So this is another one of the highly recommended setting that you should do. Another thing to note here is you can enable the protect battery here if you want to limit the maximum charging percent of your battery to 85% for longevity of your battery's life. Going back to device care section, Samsung One UI also provides an option for antivirus software. Just go to device protection and you can turn this on. But do note that this involves a third-party software from McAfee. So if you are not comfortable with McAfee scanning your phone, just leave this disabled, but if you prioritize the peace of mind from any possible viruses, you can enable this. For me personally, I don't think I would use this since there's rarely any new viruses for Android anyway, and I am very careful on any sites and place I visit. So I'm good. Next, and this is probably the first thing that you should literally do to your phone, go to Diagnostics. You will be presented with diagnostic tests here for basically all the parts of your phone. You can tap any of the items here to test them. And as you can see, I've already done the battery test which reports it to be normal and good life. I suggest running everything here, and if something is reported here to be off or bad, then you should contact Samsung and have your phone replaced immediately. For me, I have ran all of this, except the wired headphones of course, since Flip 4 does not have a headphone jack, and everything is good. Lastly, the last tip I have is the automation. You can access it by tapping the ellipsis here on the device care settings page, then tap on automation. Now from here you can enable the auto optimize daily. As the setting implies, the optimization that we did earlier, that will be done automatically to this phone every day. To take it up a notch, you can also schedule a system restart. Tapping here will let you choose the schedule on when you want the auto restart to happen. This is a really nice thing to have, since restarting your phone is a very healthy habit, both for the system and the phone's battery. You can choose here the days when the restart will happen, and also what time. Alright. I know this is a lot and overwhelming, but as a new user of a smartphone brand or ecosystem, these kinds of tips and tricks, tutorials and walkthrough really helped me a lot on how to familiarize myself with the new system, how to maximize the potential of my phone, how to optimize it, how to make it more secured, and how to customize it the way I like it and make it my very own phone. I hope this video did the same to you. That's it for now. If you enjoy this video, give me a thumbs up. If it has helped you in any way, please do consider subscribing to the channel. Nilasuj for watching. Nova Air.